Welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts. Today we are sponsored by our friends at Fan Team. You can find all their information in our live comment section and our description below. They're one of the best platforms around for fantasy football and multiple other games related to sports. So go and check them out. They're absolutely brilliant. Make sure like buttons are being smashed. You're sharing the stream wherever you're watching. You're hitting like buttons. You're doing all the stuff you need to do. Comments in below and all that jazz. How are you? How are you though, Jess? How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain. I'm really enjoying there being no football for a little bit. A nice little break, just focusing on one of my favorite things in the game in terms of transfers and just kind of relaxing, really. So yeah, I'm really good. I mean, it doesn't appear as relaxing from an Arsenal point of view, or is it? Or is it?
Well, it depends on if you're realistic or not. You know, there's a lot of people that are disappointed in the window. Nobody wants to hear this, but the January transfer window is a difficult one. Not a lot of people are doing a lot of business, and after spending 150 million in the summer window, I don't think we could have thought that we were going to be doing a ton of business. But the Vlahovic thing, I think, has made people feel like we are trying to go big. And we did. We tried to go big, and it didn't work out. And so the calls for the club to be, in trouble because they're not ambitious, I find that a little bit harsh considering we went after one of the top talents in Europe. We put the money down and he didn't want to come to Arsenal. So I don't necessarily feel that that means that we're not ambitious. We were trying to get the deal done before, other people were in the deal, and it just didn't work out. And so now everybody wants that money shifted on over to a midfielder. And I'm not saying this is right, but I just think the club was always prepared to go with Granit Xhaka, Thomas Partey, El Neni, and Sambi this season. That was very clear to me. That was made clear in the summer when we had 150 million to spend and we decided to keep Xhaka and not buy the midfielder then. So ultimately, that decision has cost us maybe a couple of opportunities to go further in cups and maybe even 2 points against Burnley. But we're past that now, and I can't think beyond, maybe the club thinks that 17 games left, we're going to have all our midfielders back. Why spend the money now when we probably have bigger targets in the summer? And the Bruno Guimaraes news, I wanted him at the club. Everybody knows that I'm a huge fan of his, and I just felt like, if Newcastle could go get him, why couldn't we? But the reality is kind of like, if the club doesn't want to move on a midfielder in this window, then they're not going to, regardless to how we feel about it. We could want a player, but just because we're crying about it doesn't mean that they should look at Twitter and then go pull the money out. They were never going to get a midfielder this window unless it was going to be some sort of loan. So I get that he was one of our targets. I would have loved for us to just kind of push the boat out and try to get him now and just secure the midfield, because there's no guarantee that Thomas Partey and Xhaka will be able to make it through the entire season. I think it's been made abundantly clear that they are unreliable, but that is the risk that I feel like the club is willing to take, and it's their funeral if it doesn't go right. But the Arsenal fan base, I get it. I get why people are upset, and it's also off of the back of a really bad January. That's if we're sitting in fourth and we had not just drawn to Burnley, I don't think we would have the same reaction. If we hadn't had 3 red cards in January, it wouldn't be the same reaction. But, it's never as bad as you think, and it's never as good as you think. And so we just have to hope that we can get through these 17 matches with what we have. But I just find some of it is a little harsh. But at the same time,
what's harsh?
That the club hasn't been ambitious.
Okay. When did you become a lawyer?
What do you mean?
You did a great job of defending Arsenal. I hear your point.
Well, you didn't actually let me finish because you asked me how the fan base was feeling, and you didn't actually. I didn't even get to how I'm feeling.
Okay,
This is the thing is,
go on.
it's a two-part question, and I get that you want to go to them. Well, why aren't you upset? You should be this. You should be that.
No,
I don't think it's okay for us to go through the rest of the season with this group of midfielders. You can actually go on my Twitter right now if you guys want to. Just tweets. I explained how I think the club is thinking, and then I personally wouldn't go in this direction because I don't think we make the top 6 or the top 4 with what we have right now. But what can I do? What can I do? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they've made this bed and they have to lie in it. And so no matter how much I cry about wanting Bruno Guimaraes, he ain't coming. They don't want a midfielder. So it's frustrating, but this is the choice that they're making. But personally, I think we need a midfielder because we're just skint. And if one thing happens, we could be outside of the top 6, and that would be probably the worst thing that could happen to Arsenal. So there you go.
And I get all that. And again, you said this to me before on this show. I'm not looking for you to come on here and cry, come on here and scream into the camera, this club's a disgrace, burn it all down. But the one thing I disagree with you on is this whole, because the club don't want to, the club are not going to do it, so there's no point us talking about it. By that logic, what's the point of fans having channels? What's the point of fans having opinions? What's the point of fans expressing themselves?
No, I said personally for me, I already said I get why people are upset. They have every right to be. But personally for me, I need to see what happens at the end of the season. If we don't make top 6, I feel like that's kind of when you should go, and really get upset.
Come on, Jess. Listen, you guys have improved this season. There's no doubt about it. And I've praised you. I haven't.
I've remained consistent. You can't push me into thinking.
I'm not pushing you. I'm not trying to.
You are. Come on, Jay. Come on, Jay. I've always maintained if we don't make top 6, that would not. You don't believe me.
I don't believe. Like, you're acting very, very calm. And I understand, and I'm not expecting. Again, there's a difference. I don't expect you to go on full on.
Well, if you're feeling like me being calm is a weird reaction, then that's because you're expecting something different.
No, it's because I don't believe you're as calm as you're saying you are. So I'm not expecting something different. I don't believe you in your entirety. That it's almost, well, I'm not going to react because the club have made this decision. I'm going to wait until the end.
I've already reacted. I said personally.
Yeah,
we should get a midfielder. Like, that is how I feel about it. But
and I get that.
What else do you need? I look to pull my hair out?
Yeah, I look at it from the point of view of your club are letting you all down. Your club are taking the proverbial out of every single one of the Arsenal fans around the world. And you put 70-odd million up, for Vlahovic. And I didn't at any point banter you for doing that. A lot of people did, including a lot of Arsenal fans. Why are we wasting our time going for this guy? He's never going to pick us. I always felt there was an absolute chance. There was an absolute chance that you'd be at the charm offensive could work. Arsenal believed there was a chance it could work, and it didn't quite happen for you. But you've proven now 2 windows running, there is money there to be spent. You've got the likes of Bissouma and Ruben Neves, that if you go back to early reports, not about Arsenal being linked to them, but about those players early on in January, both seemingly available for the right kind of money. Go lay down a marker. Yourself is someone that I saw. You were the first person that really brought my attention to Bruno, and I always pronounce his surname wrong. Guimaraes, I think it's pronounced Guimaraes. Something along. I'm just going to call him Bruno, so I don't butcher his surname. Apologies. You spoke about him a lot, and it's almost you've got Newcastle that are going to pip you to a target. And I understand the fence sitting. I understand that it's almost I'm not going to go over the top because we might end up achieving my standards. Therefore, there was no need for me to be frustrated. But you might supersede your standards with a signing. An opportunity has presented itself to Arsenal throughout this season with Man United and Leicester being nowhere near the level that anybody predicted them to be this year. There's an opening there for Arsenal to capitalize on. You've seen that you need, not just because Xhaka's a liability and because Thomas Partey's had one good game in 18 months at Arsenal, you have no depth in that midfield area. To not buy somebody when the money is clearly there, take a summer transfer target, even if you pay £10 million more now, get that deal done and over the line to improve where you are. And I think Arsenal fans should be demanding that in their droves. And what I'm seeing is a lot of fence sitting. I'm seeing a lot of fans just playing politics here.
No, you're not, because when we first started, you said it's not that calm in the fan base. So clearly you're not seeing that. You see a lot of Arsenal fans upset. So don't sit here and act like you see a lot of people like me. You don't.
No, what I think
you don't. You see the majority of the fan base is losing its head.
Everyone's got different timelines because of who they follow, and you obviously follow a lot more Arsenal fans than me. I'm seeing a lot of what you've said, a lot of, well, it'll be okay, we'll do this. You know, in the group chats we've got in the Terry.
I already said I was frustrated about not getting a midfielder. I don't know what else you need me to say.
I understand
because we actually just agreed. I just didn't say it the way that you said it.
Okay, and fair enough. But my point is this: I would expect Arsenal fans to be demanding far more answers from their football club, going at their football club, and that doesn't mean ranting, pulling your hair out, swearing at them, calling them pejoratives. That means demanding answers instead of kind of.
So what should we do? Should we go outside the Emirates and start protesting?
Yeah. Well, that's one idea. That's one idea.
Dude.
You got. Why is that a bad thing to do?
You said protesting doesn't work, so.
Well, but that's not my. But you guys.
You're saying that we should demand. Okay. I get where you're trying to go. We should be way more upset. I should be way more upset. I am frustrated. We are frustrated, but it's never as bad as you think, and it's never as good as you think. Why can't we wait until the end of the season and see where we finish? Why? I mean, why?
Well, you can do that, but I think, again, you'll look back with hindsight, and if you make 6, you go, okay, we hit our standards, but you could have done better. If you miss out on top 4 by 5 points, but a Basuma could have been the difference. You know, a top-class striker could be the difference.
I mean, if that's the case, then everybody should be spending money out of their ass to get where they want to go. We know that that's not how transfers work. So technically, Spurs should be buying a whole new midfield, and you guys should also be buying a shit ton of players, because technically you should be in the top 2/top 3. I mean, we know transfers don't work that way. I don't know why I don't get why it's okay. It's not okay just to be frustrated, but not lose your head over it.
And I'm asking, where have I said lose your head? Why do you take what I say and push it straight into lose your head? I haven't said lose your head. I'm saying I think you're sitting on the fence and you're playing it down. I've not said you're gonna lose your head.
I'm not playing it down. I said I don't think we get our targets if we don't buy a midfielder. And so I'm frustrated.
This way, on your point about others, I've said all along, Man United should be looking to buy a midfielder. 110% we should be looking to do it. I am very disappointed that we haven't done that. Where my frustration lies, and you've sat on streams with me where I've said it isn't so much that the non-purchase of even a midfielder that I'm concerned about. I'm more concerned about the bigger picture, in the sense of one of the reasons we're looking to not do it is because we're not sure if Ragnick's target is going to match the new manager coming in. That's a huge issue for me. And I've criticized my club big time for it, because we should be improving that midfield in this January, because there are a number of highly talented players available. If no one was available on the market, then I'd say fair enough. But when you just look at Aston Villa as an example, with players that they have purchased, the quality of players that they've been able to bring in January, it is doable. It is able to get done.
I didn't say it wasn't. I said I was frustrated. You got my answer, and it's similar to yours, but I don't know why it feels different. I think the only reason why it feels different is because I'm not saying it the way you want me to. I'm frustrated. We don't make our targets without the midfielder.
Maybe it was just your comment around, and I wrote it down because I was interested in it. It was that they don't want to. So basically, why talk about it? Is the way it sounded.
No, not why talk about it. Why? Yeah. For me, why should I lose my? Okay. I'm giving
you a case in point. You guys said last week on, I don't remember, I think it was the Top 6 show, where we were talking about Arteta's new deal and Arteta, should he be sacked? And it was, there's no point talking about it because it isn't going to happen. But that's what fans are meant to do. Fans are meant to talk about things.
No, I don't think that fans shouldn't. I said, I'm not going to lose my head because I feel like I understand what the club is trying to do, and it's on their heads if we don't make top 6. If we don't, which I've always maintained, they got to go if they don't make top 6. So what more is there really to unpack there? Other than I didn't say it the way that you wanted me to.
And that's fair. Do you feel like Arsenal have failed you as fans this January?
If they don't get the midfielder, then probably, because we're not going to make our targets without the midfielder, in my opinion. So also the window is not closed as well. So maybe this is a better conversation for like next Tuesday when the window has closed. And then if we know for sure like nothing has happened, then there you go. But
are you confident? I mean, you're linked today with Ruben Neves. Are you confident?
We're not really linked with him.
Okay. It's trending across the Arsenal fan base. Do you think that's possible? Do you think that's plausible?
With Wolves sitting 2 points behind us in the league, taking one of their best players, probably not. So I would, because why would Wolves sell to us if they know that there'll be bids in the summer? He's one of our top targets. Like, we're going to go back in for him, even if we don't go for him in January. So I just don't see that as, I mean, we look at the January transfer. I get that there was Bruno Guimaraes was the one that was really available. I don't really believe that the Ruben Neves one is really an option. Basuma probably is an option. I don't know, but the Ruben Neves one, we're sitting 2 points in front of them. Why would they sell us their best player?
Well, Ruben Neves wants to leave and go to a club that does have a higher ceiling than Wolves. And I believe Arsenal have that. So I think it's achievable. I mean, you guys...
It's not just the player, though. We know it's the club, the agent. Everybody has to agree. So just because we have the money and the player might want to come doesn't mean Wolves
willing to at the right price
bomb their season because we want them.
It was reported earlier on in the season that Wolves are willing to at the right price. Around 45 to 50 million pound
summer.
Could end up with the January. A lot of people believe that could be done as well. But you got to test the water. Look what Newcastle did yesterday. Newcastle, a great case in point. They wanted this midfielder yesterday, and I'm not going to get all the names here, but they essentially went out for Lingard yesterday. They went out for Bruno yesterday. Dan Burn yesterday. They just went out and said, right, we're in the final week of January. Teams are going to start talking and moving now. They went money there, money here. Let's go and test the water. Nobody would expect Dan Burn to be leaving Brighton. Those two teams aren't too far away from each other. Dan Burn is an integral part of the Brighton team, but money talks. No, if you'd have said a week ago, Newcastle were going to sign Bruno over Arsenal, you probably would have been laughed at by people, but they've put the money down. They've got it done. And I just think they need to go out there at Arsenal and they've made a statement already by trying to get Vlahovic. I think walking away now and not putting that bid in, not trying to do it, I think Arsenal might regret it come the end of the season. And you as fans deserve better. You deserve so much better from your football club than you're getting. So much more, I think. In terms of obviously Bruno, the deal looks almost done and dusted now. I think you shared it in our group chat earlier, Olympic Lyon denying that any kind of deal had been agreed. I didn't realize that that's what they seem to do stereotypically. They say that quite regularly, and then the deal was done within an hour or two or a day or two or whatever it may be. People are sending me kind of links to it. How good a signing is that going to be for Newcastle? And will it be, the type of player that's going to give them the capabilities of staying up now?
Yeah, he'll keep them from getting relegated. He's definitely one of the best under 24 midfielders in Europe. I've spoken about him so many times on my own channel. The guy could play for any top 6 team. He really could. His dream was to go to Man City. Obviously, that's not an option for him, but at some point it could potentially, so it's a good move for him. He can't turn down the money. I don't think people don't always look at, why would he go to Newcastle? Well, he may have to feed a ton of people in his family. So he can't turn down that level of money and that opportunity. So I don't blame him for going. If they get Lingard, I think they need one more player. But if they were to get Lingard and Bruno Guimaraes and Wood, they'll survive relegation for sure, because that is a really, really good player. And good deal for them.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know as much about him as you do. You, as I said earlier on in the stream, you kind of really brought my attention to him with some of the tweets and some of the sort of shows that you spoke about, and I kind of researched him. And yeah, very, very good looking player. And we know that Lyon have got just such a great habit of developing or buying young talent and turning them into absolute stars. Essentially, I remember watching a really interesting documentary that was all about essentially how they stay alive, they stay afloat as a club. It's all about developing or buying young, getting them to a certain standard and selling them on. And they can be cow sons in the market as well. I think Newcastle pulled off an absolute gem of a piece of business there. Are you a little jealous of them? Is it a little frustrating? Because I know you like this guy. Are you a little bit like envious?
Yeah, I already said that. I like this player. Like, I'm not going to sit here and turn around and say, like, he's a bad player, because a lot of Arsenal fans will turn around and do that. He's a great player, and of course I'd love him at Arsenal, but I also don't think that the issue for Arsenal is that we don't have any good midfielders. We do. They just have been unreliable, and I think that we have other targets that we're going to try to go after in the summer, and I hope we can get them over the line, because Bruno is a very, very good player. And so I don't know if jealousy is it. I feel like that's a little bit, I don't know if that's really it. Jealousy feels a little like, I don't know, like on the playground. But I think it's a really good deal for them. I really do. And so hopefully things work out for us, for sure. Because he would have been a perfect Xhaka replacement.
I think jealousy is the absolute right word, because I look at the way Man City operates a football club, and I am hugely jealous that my football club doesn't operate with the same efficient. It doesn't mean everything's perfect. Every club makes mistakes. Every club buys duds. Every club has poor moments, because human beings are running it. There's flaws. But I just look at Newcastle have had to go with a scattergun approach a little bit because of their predicament. If they were a mid-table team when Newcastle were taken over, I think they would have been a little bit more precise and pinpoint. But the way they've gone and got this done, they put their money where their mouth is. And the thing is, right now, the club, they don't have any more money than the rest of us. And they're able to go out there. They brought in a right back who's better than anyone we've got at Man United. I know some United fans will say, Delo, maybe he'll get to Trippier's level. He's better than Arsenal's right backs. He's better than Tottenham's right backs. And I just think these deals are doable. But our clubs have and Spurs, look, they might end up, they're linked with 2 or 3 really talented players in this last week of the window. And maybe Levy will get it over the line. But, I'm looking at it now, and you look at Tottenham, Man United and Arsenal, and it's a case of, I think all 3 teams have let their fans down to a degree so far. And you said earlier, bang on right about it. If they're able to turn that round in the last 3 or 4 days and land someone of note that improves the squad, then fair enough. But it's going to feel so frustrating if our teams miss out by a handful of points. And especially if those points are generally being lost because of midfield battles or a lack of width in the team or no potency up front, putting the ball in the back of the net, which I think Arsenal, as you know, can struggle with. You've got brilliant kids, but relying on them to be the main goal scorers and scoring lots of goals is such a hard thing to do, because very few youngsters have been able to do that across the last 20, 30 years of football. In the Premier League especially, you've had a handful that have been able to do it, and not very many. So it really sets up for an exciting second half of the season. In relation to that, it really does. Viewers, if you've got any questions, make sure you get them into us. Make sure you hit that like and that share button as well. Naval here says the alcoholic, don't know his name, had sense to go to Juve. I don't know who that alcoholic is. I don't get what you mean by that. Makes sense to go to Juve. Neves, if you've got a brain, mate, don't lower your standards by going to Arsenal. Do you think, I see quite a few people say that, like going to Arsenal shows a lack of ambition of the player. I assume you don't agree as a Gooner.
No, I don't. Not really. I mean, it's easy to take shots at Arsenal right now. We're not where we should be, but we're improving. But we just went through a bad period in January, so everybody's piling on Arsenal. But we're going to be able to attract good players in the summer if we do get into Europe. And I think it is a step up from Wolves to go to Arsenal. I find that to be okay, well, Arsenal on the down, so let me just pile on. That's fine. But we all know that a lot of players would want to play for Arsenal. Maybe not the top players, but there's only a couple of teams in the Premier League that can actually attract the top players. So we can still attract players. I think Ruben Neves would probably want to come to Arsenal. Bruno Guimaraes actually said yes to coming to Arsenal when we did speak to him. So all these players aren't just rejecting us. We just haven't put bids in for them. So there you go, But everybody's entitled to their own opinion. If they think Arsenal's a step down, then fair enough.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to Dean yesterday when, Dean spoke about Arthur Melo and a few others. And a lot of it is that consideration of whether Arsenal is the right stepping stone for their career. That doesn't mean they're going to come to Arsenal and then leave, in the sense of, will they progress? Will they move forward? Is it the right place for them? And look, I'll keep the same energy for Arsenal as I've said about Man United in recent years. Footballers have to consider that, because our clubs are pound for pound with two of the biggest underachieving football clubs in the world. We really are. To be where we are with our money, with our fan base size, with our income, with our power, I'm not surprised players are deliberating. I'm not surprised players are, picking other projects at times. It doesn't. Man United fans, again, don't want to admit this. This is how I know United were rejected by Julian Alvarez, but fans don't want to admit it. Every single tweet Fabrizio puts out about Man City signing this brilliant wonder kid, the final line's about Man United not being in for him, and now it's changed to United didn't come close. Well, I thought we didn't talk to him, so we didn't talk to him. Of course we weren't close. But it's like you're obviously being briefed by Man United to say that. They want that message out there. But it's because fans are too weak to take it on the chin that we didn't have the pull. He looks at our project and thought, well, them youngsters are there. They don't know who their manager is. This team City are peak of their powers, top of the league, Pep Guardiola. And that's why I'm jealous, because I look at what they've got and what they've created from where our two teams were 15 years ago to where we are now when I look at City and Man United. And it's embarrassing. And, I call my club out all the time. I put a tweet, I found it by accident when looking for something, a tweet from when I was on the news in the UK back in 2012, talking about the Glazers and what they were doing wrong at the club, because this isn't a Johnny come lately thing for me. Like a lot of people that, I'm going to protest it now because it's fashionable to. No, I've been talking about this stuff for 10 years. And, 5-6 years ago, pulled all my money away from the club. I did something tangible because I'm sick and tired of, again, I'm sick and tired of people ranting about it and then going out and buying a shirt. God rest his soul. I loved him. I met him a few times. Great guy, Heavy D. I always remember I texted him saying, brother, you were at a Cronky Out protest today. But he literally went into the store before the game and bought the new shirt and then protested in it. Like, bro, what are you doing, G? And more needs to be done by fans. Shouldn't be disappointed if your club doesn't do January business. We shouldn't accept substandard transfers. Wait for the summer for real targets, is what Red Wolf has got to say. And that's fair. If you can't get anyone on your list, then that makes sense. I hear you completely. Terry, you are not upset enough about Man United. Please pull your teeth. I said what I said. I don't know what pulling my teeth means, but thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Let's be real. If Arsenal wasn't in London, they'd be dead. Look, listen, let me just say about Arsenal. Arsenal are a huge football club with a huge pedigree, with a huge history, and they can still attract players. There is no doubt. I know there's banter, Aid. There's banter, and then there's banter, my guy. Come on. They're big.
I mean, you don't have to do all that. Like, it's fine. Okay. People think Arsenal's dead. Let them think Arsenal's dead. It's cool. Like, we all know that we've slipped down, and we know where we are. Like, people are just going to continue to say it until we're back where we need to be. So you don't have to, try to back us. It's fine.
Okay. So, you've seen the abuse that I get when I don't call out people saying things that are negative about Arsenal. And now you're telling me, you're like, you should listen, Terry. People don't like it. They don't like the terrace because of it. And now I back Arsenal and you're like, don't do it. Well,
I just said you don't have to, you don't have to. You don't have to go into the Arsenal as a big club and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's fine. Like,
okay. Fair enough. I don't think Jess is very happy, people. What you're saying? What you're all saying? But get your questions into
I can't get with the I say something and this happens on these shows quite a bit. I noticed is Arsenal's going through a bad period. I come on, I don't say something a certain way, and then I don't believe you when I've been consistent. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, you know what? Maybe Jessica's not like somebody else. Maybe she just has her own way.
It's not about anybody else. It's me saying
it kind of feels like it. It kind of feels like it, and it throws off the show a little bit. Just
No, I'm just challenging
yeah,
you.
it does. It's not challenging. It's I don't believe you. You should be this. Like, come on.
I didn't.
Nobody's
So
keeping that. Nobody's keeping that same
hang
energy
on,
in January.
hang
Nobody
on.
is. I don't feel like. I mean, nobody keeps the same energy. It's just Arsenal are going through a bad period. So of course we're going to be over the top about everything, and we should be frustrated. But like, has the club failed you? Have you this? Like, I don't know. Let's let the window close first. Maybe. Just saying.
Look, I understand you feel like that, but it's a question. And it's a question reflected on lots of different things that I've seen across socials. And I want to get your take on it. And if I
And you
don't
did get my take, and then you didn't accept it. And that's the thing. Just accept my take as it is, and don't think I don't believe you because you're not ranting.
I'm not doing that. Yes, I'm not going to sit here and have someone say something to me. And if I don't think that they're expressing themselves fully or telling the complete truth or telling the truth at all, I'm going to ask them.
Well, why don't you think I am?
I think you.
No, why don't you? Why don't you? Why can't you accept that as how I actually feel? Why can't you just accept it?
Because we speak privately, and you don't say different things, but you express yourself more, and you're a lot more open about your club. And I feel like you're holding back a bit. And I don't mean, again, you're gonna do to me now.
I said I'm frustrated. Like,
let me finish. You're gonna do to me now what a lot of the detractors of the football terrorists do, and go, Terry just wants me to rant and pull my hair out so we can get a viral moment on the internet. That isn't what I'm looking for, because you can be very stern about your club without ranting. For me, I feel, and you might disagree, and maybe I missed the expression of it, but I just feel like you believe there's a window of opportunity here being missed by your football club, and you think that it's wrong. I get you want to wait and see. You want to wait and see, because you still might.
But I said that though. I said.
Okay.
But I didn't say it the way that you wanted me to. That really is to me the crux of it.
Maybe it's not about. Maybe you've got to look at it from a different point of view.
If we don't get a midfielder, we won't make Europe. I said that.
Okay, but maybe it is that maybe I'm too dense to kind of. I am a moron, and we all know that. So maybe I'm not quite getting it. It's a case of it sounded to me a little bit riddly. It's why I said he sounded like a lawyer. It wasn't clear to me personally exactly what you were saying.
Because also this is not the first time that I've spoken about it, really, so I can't regenerate the emotions again. Like, I am frustrated. Everybody knows that. It's funny because I come on here and I'm a lawyer, but then everywhere else, I'm Leanne Gunner, when I'm just expressing myself in a way that just is calm, because naturally that's how I am. Like, I don't have time to be screaming about Arsenal all day. Like, again, literally, if we don't buy the midfielder, because that's what it is. That's I can't say it any other way. You're like, I think you're holding back. I've already said I'm frustrated. So what am I holding back from?
Okay, fair enough. If you say you're getting it all out and it's bang on, I will take your word for it.
Please do.
As of now, yeah. Ruben Neves is still trending, by the way, and I'm just taking a look at it now. It's absolutely. Who is this person? I think one of our guys shared it earlier. Al Heat AFC. I mean, they shipped the.
He's a nobody in the know that knows absolutely nothing about the club.
Oh, is that who he is? Right, because stuff's trending today. Like, Arsenal fans are sharing that.
Because they want a midfielder to come in.
That tells me there's a desperation there. Yeah.
What? I mean,
and
AFTV, I told you that everybody's frustrated.
Well, yeah. No, actually, here, now this is it. So this is more credible. AFTV have shared here that Arsenal was still interested in Wolves midfielder Ruben Neves, according to The Athletic. So, yeah, they shared that as well. So I suppose that's what's probably giving the other guys' report a little bit more credence, is that The Athletic and AFTV have sort of shared something along those lines as well. In terms of Manchester United, of course, one of the interesting stories that's kind of circulated in the last little while has been the amount of money we've been demanding from teams for these loans. The Jess Lingard deal appears to be all but in the mud, as it were. And it's very much Man United are asking for about, in total, including covering the, they always do to United, they add up the salary and fee, about £16.5 million to loan Lingard until the end of the season. Do you think Man United are being disrespectful to Lingard and Newcastle, or do you think they're absolutely right to get as much money out of this deal as they can?
Yeah, I think they should try to get as much as they possibly can. We know Newcastle has the money, and that's Manchester United are not the first club in this window to ask for things from Newcastle that maybe they wouldn't ask for anybody else, So I think it's right to protect yourself. You're going to be getting rid of another midfielder, and if you get rid of Donny van der Beek, I think without bringing somebody in, it's limiting the amount of options that you have, so you got to get something from it. And yeah, if Newcastle want things, they need to pay for it because we all know that they have the money. And that's just what they're going to have to go through over the next couple of years. People know that they have the money, so pay up. It's not going to be fair.
Yeah, I've kind of felt with a number of Newcastle fans. Just I follow one of their aggregator accounts now, just to keep up to date with what's going on there. And a lot of the response are, why are teams doing this to us? I'm sort of like, it's funny. I thought, yeah, it's because you got money. And then in our group chat earlier, I think it was Neeks, and this made me die. By the way, yeah, £12 million to Man United if Newcastle stay up. Remember, this is the same club, Newcastle, that wanted £50 million 2 years ago for Longstaff. So everybody does it. Everybody puts their prices up. Everybody, tries to hang people out to dry money wise. And I have to be honest, I'm a little bit proud to see Man United's board actually being. We let Javier Hernandez leave for about £7 million. He went to Leverkusen and scored like 20, 30 goals in his first year. We let Danny Welbeck go for 16 million. And I know he had injury problems. He's well worth more than that. So listen, we've got to start trying to make that money back. And if we end up picking up anything between 10 to 15 million pound for Lingard for his last 6 months, it's colossal. Donny van der Beek's an interesting one. Palace want him. How do you think he'll do at Palace if he goes there?
I don't know, because I haven't seen him play in the Premier League. So there you go. I mean, I have no idea how he'd do. He's a good player, but I have my reservations around him now because I'm not sure why he hasn't been chosen at Man United. It's not like you have the best midfield out there all the time and he doesn't seem to be able to get any minutes, so I don't know how he'll do, but I am kind of happy to see them backing Patrick Vieira because, you can't just, they had like 9 or 10 players out of contract before they started the season. And so they started off well and then they've dropped off a little bit. And so they need to, back him a little bit more. And this would be a good player to bring in. I think Donny van der Beek, it's kind of like how I remember him. I think he'd be good, but then I'm also like, why hasn't he been chosen? What's going on? But if he goes, we'll get to see what Manchester United were potentially missing out on or what they were trying to hide from us all. And he could be really, really good, or he could be somebody that doesn't fit in the Premier League. But if you look at Palace and you see what they're doing, they have a lot of good young players, and he would fit in with that with Conor Gallagher in the midfield. And so I think it would be a good move on the basis of feeling like I know who Donny van der Beek is, but I don't know who he is in the Premier League. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, what's really interesting for me at Man United has been the profile of player, the individuals that have been allowed to leave. So 2 players who Ollie out as essentially totally and utterly believed would be a huge integral part of Ralph's setup were going to be Martial and Donny because they are ballers. It's very intriguing to me that Ralph is very happy for them to go. There almost seems to be no resist. I mean, both barely played, both barely kicked a ball. Now, what's intriguing to me and why I'm very, I don't know, the word ain't excited. I have to remove my Man United head because the Man United fan in me saying they're technically gifted footballers. Why on God's green earth are you letting them leave? But there is this element where I think to myself, are they really as good as I believe they were? Are they really as good? Forget technical ability. It's the application and physicality and mentality to play for Man United in the Premier League. Have we just missed something here as fans that, we're just not acute to? Because for them to both be allowed to go, nobody would have guessed. Again, if you went back to November when Ollie was sacked and Ralph come in, and you said, I think the first two players out the door are going to be those two, you probably would have been laughed at. I mean, interestingly, there are other reports that the likes of AWB, Maguire are also on the chopping block if Ralph remains in any kind of power come the end of the season. But yeah, look, from my point of view, I just look at it and think to myself, I'm just happy for them. I want them to go and get the game time because both don't have obligations to buy in them. So if they do well, there is the opportunity to bring them back. Donny going to a Premier League team might serve a number of purposes. It might give him a bit of confidence back. It might prove whether he can deliver or not. If he goes to Palace and he can't play football, when their whole team this season has been playing very good football, that will give you another inclination that maybe he just isn't suited to this particular league. But look, I think they've got to let them go out because Donny doesn't even come off the bench. So there's no point in being there.
Yeah.
We can be losing, struggling to break teams down. He doesn't get to come on. So yeah, the only thing I'm going to say, and this goes back to, again, my energy is the same for my club, is very much this, from my point of view. I want to see, if we let those players go, someone has to come in. We cannot. It will be ridiculous for those two to leave because we saw an impact from Marseille even on Saturday. You can't have them both go out the door, maybe even Jess Lingard, and no one else come in. Maybe one player, but there's something needs to happen in terms of incomings for Man United, I think. And I think it'd be embarrassing for us not to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know you're trying to make sure you keep that same energy. I get it. That's what it feels like. I don't know if you could say it's just embarrassing, but yeah, I would expect you guys to bring somebody in. I'm not playing this game with you today. Or should I just accept that that's how you really feel and just move on? Why aren't you talking? You mad?
Chelsea Football Club. Did you read the news today?
No. Well, I know the Tuchel thing. Chelsea upset about the attack and all that kind of stuff. Yes, the attackers are upset. I heard about that. What?
And your opinion?
Oh, you hadn't asked me what my opinion on it was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can see that there's something there with Lukaku. Obviously, he's not excited about what's going on at Chelsea, and the attack still isn't clicking. Maybe they feel like he's not playing them in the right positions, and their careers are suffering for it. And so it's a little bit of one of those where it's like, do you back the manager because the manager is the one that got you guys the Champions League and all that kind of stuff? Or, do you kind of listen to what the players are saying and maybe think that maybe he needs to switch things around? It could just be that those are not his players. I mean, those were Lampard's players that were brought in. Beyond Lukaku, everybody else is somebody that has inherited, and it may just be difficult for him to deal with them. So it may be just a little bit of they need to bring him in attackers that are his, or he needs to change his methods to get the most out of what he has, so I don't really know where to sit with it because I know that a lot of Chelsea fans really back Tuchel, but he still has to use what he has and get the most out of it. And if all the Chelsea attackers or most of them are upset with him, then something has to change there.
Cool. There's some more super chats to do here. First one says Ipswich, Forest, Villa all have trophies. Arsenal don't, is what Aidan Andrews has got to say. We have one here from Terry that says, Jess, let me translate what Terry means. You are not upset enough. Please, could you cry and scream for camera for views? We are trying to be AFTV here. Do you agree with the super chat?
No, I mean, I do think that you have a hard time accepting how I feel about something if you feel deep down that I feel a different way. That's what I think, and I know how I feel, and I would just like for people to just accept that, and not be like, well, you're lying.
So not challenge you.
No, I mean, you can, it didn't feel like challenging. It felt like,
okay,
that's, you can't feel that way. No, I see it on Twitter. Everybody's upset. Well, the reason why you have me here and the reason why you said that you like having me on the channel is because I'm different than other Arsenal fans. So
yeah,
why not keep that energy?
But I do have that energy. My energy, but doesn't mean
you can't expect me to be like everybody else.
That's nonsense. You're literally sitting there and asking me to, like, if I don't feel like, and I listen, I respect my viewers. My viewers are everything to me. And lots of them might go, no, I totally got what Jess says. That's cool. I didn't fully buy in. So I'm going to sit there and ask you about it. Like, I do think you're one of the best Arsenal content creators out there. I love your opinions on Arsenal. I love a lot of what you've got to say, the way you take on things. But that doesn't mean I won't and can't challenge you on things you say, opinions you give, or whether I feel you're being completely out there with things like that. That for me,
I mean, you basically told me that you didn't think that I was telling the truth and that I was holding things back and manufacturing answers that felt better so I could protect the club. And
you're going.
That's not. No, you said I'm the lawyer.
The
and
irony,
it felt like I was making something
I was having
up.
a little bit of banter calling you a lawyer. What I'm going to say is this, right? Is the irony in what you're saying is you then go to the end of the spectrum around, you call me a liar. I didn't call you an outright, like, you're making it sound like I'm being cruel and vindictive. You want me to scream, shout, rant, and go crazy. I don't want either of those things. I just feel like, for me, when I was listening, I didn't feel like you were if I express it this way, I didn't feel like you were completely expressing yourself.
So you didn't think I said it the way that you wanted me to? Like, no, I didn't say it the way that you expected me to.
Stop twisting it into you. I didn't use the words you wanted me to use. You didn't use the words that made me feel what you were saying. It isn't about me wanting to put words in your mouth. It didn't resonate with me, so I was challenging you on it. That is a very normal thing on any podcast conversation to do. I was listening, but I weren't hearing. So I challenged you, so I got more of a response. So then I heard. That's very normal in any conversation between two human beings.
Fair enough.
I didn't skip your super chat, my bro. I just didn't. It was pinned and time ready. As long as Arteta is at the helm, quality players think twice about coming. That feels real. Do you believe Arteta is an issue for any of the players based on this super chat?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he doesn't have the credentials, so unless he does something spectacular and shows that he's a top manager, people will always take a second look. That was always a concern when he came in, and so he's going to have to do more selling than we would probably like. And that's just kind of what you get when you don't have a manager with the CV. So yeah, I can understand that. That's probably true.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So I just read a comment, made me laugh. I know I get where you're coming from. I don't think he's too much of a. I don't even think it's Arteta. I think that's a little bit of an oversimplification. I think it's the direction that clubs are going in rather than the actual managers and coaches that are at the clubs. There's a lot of people at the moment, talking about Aubameyang. Should he have been ostracized? Was it right? Was it wrong? Like, this guy still signed. Yes, a lot of it was for the money, but he signed a new deal when he knew who the manager was, as an example. Ozil, as much as he slags the club off now, or appears to, he was only annoyed because he wanted to play. Like, he wanted to play for Arteta, if that makes sense. Like, it just Arteta ostracized him for whatever reasons. And a lot would say, like, rightfully so. But there we go in relation to that. I think on the Thomas Tuchel situation, like you were saying earlier, like, from my point of view, I feel like we spoke about it on this morning show. It's a simple one for me, that a lot of the seeds have been planted now for fans to turn on him. And I know a lot of fans are backing him, and it's almost universal. But Lukaku did it. Now there's this second story of attacker not happy with how he's playing football. Not scoring enough goals is like a bone of contention for Chelsea for Chelsea fans. And I sort of look at it from the point of view of how do I say this in the right way? if results don't turn and the season end badly, you will slowly start to see people change their opinion. This is what football fans do. We all do it at times. We all flip-flop, or we all change our minds, or whatever else it is at different stages. These articles and these points will become the tools and the weapons for these fans to push with. And I'm just intrigued to see what happens with that. The most important thing for Tuchel to do is to be backed by the board and to get his team scoring again, and get themselves out of this kind of rut that they've been in. The Tottenham game is very good. Champions League run is going to be so key for Thomas Tuchel. Now, I'm not suggesting he has to win it to save his job. That's, I think, a little bit over the top and hyperbolic, but he has to do well and his team have to perform. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a real interesting one to see how this kind of turns out in relation to that. It really, really is. As far as I'm concerned, anyway, it's going to be very intriguing indeed. Now, viewers, I want to just say a big thank you to all of you that have been following our podcast over the last few weeks. It's doing tremendously well across all platforms. So thank you so much for everyone that signed up, everyone that kind of downloads and everything else. The link is in our description below, and I've just posted it in the live comment section on Twitch and on YouTube for you to go and check that out. Social media, obviously, we're all involved in it. We all work in it. Did you read the report this week about? Did you read the report this week about how Liverpool have brought in like a psychiatrist to help the players deal with the pressures, the demands, the abuse, the criticism that come through social media?
Yeah, I mean, I saw something about it, but enlighten me on what it actually said.
So essentially, they're just talking about, and this is not the first time that Liverpool have kind of gone through this. It was very much a case of... We've had, I think it was Jordan Henderson spoke about this in the past around how social media sometimes has really damaged his game and his psyche because he's read too much into it. Gini Wijnaldum spoke about how a lot of, one of the reasons that he looked to move away was the way he was kind of being treated. Liverpool have now brought in a psychiatrist to try and sit down with particular players and just to help them manage the pressures that come with what's being said online about them. And I just wondered whether or not, like, obviously we're all involved in it. And I'm not saying we're all 100% guilty of this, but do you feel the way we behave online, things people have said, the criticism is impacting players? Or do you think it's more about like sort of the vile stuff they're being sent, or kind of a combination of both?
Well, I don't know what they're actually consuming. So I don't know if they sit there and scroll through every single comment and look at every single thing that people say. But if you just catch a glimpse of it, anytime that you make a bad touch, people are out for blood. You'd have one bad game and you're not even supposed to be playing that match because you were injured, but you decided to play because we didn't have anybody, and you get called the Japanese Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So it's like, it doesn't have to be vile to hurt your feelings. Like, it doesn't. And when it's constant, course, like, I think that they see it and it can get into the psyche. So but things have changed. Like, before, you wouldn't hear what fans had to really say about you like that. They would yell and stuff in the stadium and then go to the pub after or whatever and talk about it amongst each other. But now it's all out there for them to see. And when you're at a big club that's under pressure and you're meant to perform, and any little thing that you do is scrutinized, I think you have to look at it. I don't think that you can, like, I look at somebody like Aubameyang, and I can't imagine that he doesn't feel some sort of pressure, or he doesn't look at the things that have been said about him. And even though he's an older player, I mean, the way he's kind of capitulated since he signed that new deal, to me, I think may have something to do with the pressure of signing that new deal and him having a couple of bad games and people assuming the worst of him and calling him names and saying that he, just doesn't want to play, but really has malaria and stuff like that. So I do think there's some of that, because any little thing that you do, even if you have an actual injury, people think that you're trying to do something wrong. You take one bad touch, you're trying to kill the game. I mean, I saw what people were saying about Tielemans after the Spurs match. I mean, why would he want to come to Arsenal after some of the things that the Arsenal fan base said about him? Because he basically gave Spurs the match. I mean, it has to be tough, but they do need to bring in some sort of, people to support the players, because it's not going to change. These guys are not going to change. The trolls are not going anywhere. You know, Twitter is what it is. Social media is what it is. So they need to learn how to adapt to it. And we shouldn't ask them to not look at their phones, but they need to have some sort of tools to get them through, because it's got to be tough. It has to be.
Yeah, look, I think it must be difficult, and I would like them to open up and express exactly what it is they mean. And it's interesting because I remember Jess Lingard speaking that he sort of said before that they want the criticism. So they want the criticism, they want the challenge. That's something that doesn't overtly bother them. That's what he said. So, and he's obviously speaking about himself, and he's probably had these conversations internally, but that's anecdotal because he may have only spoke to 1, 5, 10 people. He's not talking to every single professional football player across the Premier League. I would love to hear what a clinical psychologist has got to say about this. I would love to hear how the players feel, but I think it stems more into the level of abuse. And I always think back to Granit Xhaka because of his famous outburst. And still to this day, I was shocked by the response. So him swearing at the fans, initially I was like, oh, that's terrible. Man can't do that. And what was really mad to me, and by the way, I'm using this as a case in point because it's a famous example. I am pretty sure that it would be the same across all clubs. When it turned out that certain people, again, there's a difference between saying, I think Granit Xhaka is he Swiss? He played for Switzerland. Like, is the Swiss Colton Palmer, right? There's one thing saying that, and then there's being up in a man's DM saying, I hope your wife gets cancer. Like, these are the different, and I think they're more etching along to those lines there, where it's almost this case of no one endorses that kind of message. So I would like a bit more clarity from them around what they consider to be the need for this, if that makes sense. Can they handle the criticism? Can they handle that? Do they need more to be there? But yeah, look, I think, look, sort of from my point of view, I just think more's got to happen to protect the players from this. Yes, look, we're in fan media, so we gauge opinions and we put it out there and we share it as an example. What I find crazy is, like, I was watching something completely separate from football, and there was a journalist interviewed someone that it was a comedian that the comedian had beef with, and then the news outlet was like atting them into their news stories at each other, and I just thought, what's the need in that? Just so that particular other comedian sees it and then hopefully responds to it and creates whatever. Like, it's one of them things. And look, I know myself, like, just in the live comment section today, I'm being called 100 and different pejoratives and different little bits and pieces and things. And it isn't nice to kind of see, but equally, like, what footballers must go through on a level, in terms of the level of abuse, it's crazy. Like, Marcus Rashford is the second most abused sports person in the world. And it's somewhere in the region of 75,000 abusive, not criticism, but abusive tweets a month that he receives, which is just absolutely astronomical when you think about it. That, you know, my bit of advice to a lot of them is, some people say stay off social media, but then it's like, that's a weird thing to say to someone. You know, it's almost, it's like, your car gets broken into, don't have a nice car then. What do you mean? Like, it's stop the thieves. Like, let's do something to stop the thieves, not the people having nice cars having their cars broken into or stolen from me. I think that's the most important thing for me in this kind of thing, that we listen to what they've got to say. I think it's more the learns that come out of it and then what can be done to try and rectify it, really.
Yeah, for sure. It's good that at least they're looking at it, though. You know, they're not just telling them, like, okay, it's okay, you know, and it's a spectrum. You know, you get tons of criticism and then you get tons of abuse as well. So, yeah, and it's not right to abuse the players at all. Like, it's just social media, suck it up. It's not going anywhere, but that doesn't give the people that are doing it an excuse. And some food for thought.
No, absolutely. It really, really is. We had another super chat that came through here. Sorry. There we go. It says Lukaku is toxic and is affecting the rest of the team. Also, the Premier League feels too difficult for him. Not as elite as he thinks he is. Hashtag Serie A tax. You know what, Red Wolf? Like, it's interesting that this claim comes from a similar place to what Lukaku said about the manager's tactics, and we wanted to do something different, or I was told we'd do something different, which is why I've said I think that they'll be. I don't believe they resolve their issues as cleanly as they say. You know, that whole it's all fine now. Really, it didn't feel like it was all fine. It felt like a cover-up job. As a Man United fan, I hope it all goes wrong. They sack him and Man United appoint him. As a football fan with no bitterness and no saltiness and no banter, the board have got to back him. The board have got to back him. Red Wolf, they 110% have to. They absolutely have to do that. We keep getting thrown off by stream, which is very, very weird. But there we go. Jess, I really appreciate you coming on the show today and having your say. Thank you to our sponsors today, Fan Team, for doing what you do. Really appreciate it. Viewers, make sure you go and check it out. Honestly, for fantasy football games, they do like weekend fantasy football games. Got the Champions League run coming up soon as well. You can pick a brand new team for the remainder of the Champions League. It's absolutely brilliant for fantasy football. Go click on the link in the description and in the live comment section. Now, smash that like and share button before you leave. Until then, take care. Goodbye.